Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
Amir.
and welcome to the Mustcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post it.
Recently, I have been playing a lot of Skyrim because I watched a 7-hour retrospective on Skyrim, which was part one of four. Because the guy was doing, he was doing one part for each of like the main paths. So one part for like mages, one part for warriors, one part for archers, or like stealth builds. And he had only put out, and then he was putting out like his final thoughts. And the first one he did was the mage one, and that was like 7 hours long. It was a good, nice use of 7 hours of my time. Um, but it made me want to play more Skyrim, so I've been back playing Skyrim. I've also been playing this game called Skull the Hero Slayer, which is a roguelike. It's really fun. It's got a pretty unique concept. It's a side scroller. I'm not usually in the side scrollers, but this is pretty fun. Basically you're playing for like the quote unquote bad guys, but the bad guys are actually good, and all the heroes and the humans have like taken over this magical forest where all the quote unquote bad guys and like skeletons and witches and stuff would usually live. So you're like trying to take the forest back and rescue the Demon King. That's been pretty fun. Yeah, that's mostly it. I've been reading a lot more Justin Files. I finished almost all of book seven, and so I gotta get to book eight. There's a lot of books, like 17 books, and then like short stories, and the series still isn't over. But yeah, I think that's about. Oh no, I've been watching more Game of Thrones. I'm in season 5 now, and I finished this season of House of Dragon. That's about it.
All right. Well, for me, still reading the Witcher, so just Destiny. I've been making some good progress. I'm reading a lot more lately. Good book. I finished reading God of War: Lore and Legends, which is kind of like it chronicles the notes that Atreus takes throughout the story of the game, and it takes pretty much the exact same notes from the game, from its main menu, its pause menu, but adds a lot more information to it, and it adds some information about stuff that happened in between Ragnarok and the first game. So it was a good read. I enjoyed it a lot. Like I said, I'm trying to keep that hype high for God of War. I actually got spoiled big time. I got spoiled so big because I don't know. I just didn't think I would get spoiled, so I didn't even think to mute the words on Twitter. But I immediately after that spoiler muted the words on Twitter. The thing is, when I get a slight spoiler, I get tempted to see more, and that's what happened. I saw a slight spoiler of a screenshot that somebody who got like a review copy posted, or they posted, and someone else, it's been traveling around the internet, and someone else posted it, and I saw it in a post completely unrelated. Some asshole just posted it under some unrelated post, and I saw it, so I got tempted and looked up what was in the screenshot, and then I started reading this thing, and I was like, why did I just read that? That was the biggest spoiler in the world. But as unfortunate as it was to get spoiled, one, I hope what I read was just a lie that someone made up to, you know, try and be funny. And even if it was, it's a game. It's a long game. So I don't think it'll ruin my entire experience. But it sucked. I was so mad. I was like, why did I do this? I also watched The Shining a couple weeks ago. My first time ever seeing it. It was a pretty cool movie. I need to watch it again because I low key was falling asleep watching it. Not because it was boring, but because I don't know. I was just it happens when I watch a long movie. It was far longer than I thought it was gonna be too. Uh Top Gun Maverick, we rewatched that yesterday. Still good, still great. It's a great movie. Top Gun Maverick. If you haven't seen it, it's a good movie. You should check it out. Uh Batman the series, still watching that. I'm on like the reaction channel I'm watching it with, they're on the Two Face episodes, but I'm on the second Riddler episode. I forget what the name of it is called, but still watching Ben 10 as well. I'm on season 2, and Ben 10, like I said, holds up really well. Last but not least, I've been playing Claire's B story in Resident Evil 2 Remake. Because I was been watching two members of Blind Wave play it individually. One playing as Claire and one playing as Leon, and it just made me want to play the game. So I picked it back up to play Claire's B story. And the game's real good. I'm real hyped for Resident Evil 4. But so here's the thing: there's a free PS5 upgrade, right? But it turns out that I have a UK version of the Resident Evil 2 because I had like early pandemic, early 2020, I had ordered Resident Evil 2 physically from Amazon before I started going all digital during the pandemic. And I didn't notice it was a UK version until literally a week ago. When I looked at the case and it said 18 instead of M, and I was like, oh, this is a UK game. And because of that, I couldn't get the upgrade for free, so I paid for it, thinking I could transfer my data because that's the thing you can do with Resident Evil when you upgrade. I couldn't, again, for the same reason, because it's a UK game and I couldn't transfer it across, regional versions of the game. So I was just upset, tried to get a refund. They don't let you get a refund if you download a game, which is BS. It really is. PlayStation's like when it comes to refunding digital games with PlayStation, they suck. They really need to revise that stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna make the cost worth it by the month before Resident Evil 4 comes out. I'm gonna play Leon's A story again, just to get some refresher on where we last left him in the remake timeline. So yeah. Moving on to animation. Have you seen the second trailer for Trigin Stampede?
I have had almost no time whatsoever to watch anything, so no.
Well, they finally show Meryl and Wolfwood. Their designs look pretty good. But Millie, the tall lady, is now absent, and instead is seemingly being replaced by a man named, and I'm not kidding, Robert De Niro, and not voiced by Robert De Niro. At least not yet, because it's not dubbed in English yet. But like the character's name is Robert De Niro. And it seems like he's replacing Millie as her partner, and it seems like I'm not sure if he's the reporter and she's still an insurance person, but it seems like she might not be an insurance person at all anymore. She might just be a reporter, which I'm actually not even mad with that change. That actually makes a lot of sense that she would be a reporter running around trying to get the scoop on the humanoid typhoon. But honestly, these changes took the wind right out of my sails because I feel like they're completely changing the story, and that's just not what I'm personally looking for in a remake of a series that was never fully adapted in the first place. I would prefer to just see it fully adapted, but I'm not completely against a different take on it. Like maybe it'll still be good, but I'll always be a little bit miffed that we never got a proper continuation. So yeah, you should definitely check out that trailer when you get the chance. I'll send it to you if I haven't already. Bleach. I think the last episode was the second episode. And yeah, it's good. I'm realizing that my notes right now for this Bleach section is actually for the comic and not the show. But I was reading it right before trying to reread the manga leading up to the premiere of the anime. And what I realized is that I hate reading what I just watched. And I prefer it the other way around. It's more interesting for me to have watched what I just read. Because I had stopped, I got at the beginning of the arc that the anime's on and started watching anime. And then I was like, okay, let me catch up on the manga. And then I was like several chapters behind. Just those 2 episodes, I was like 10 chapters or something like that behind. And it was a slog to get through because I felt like, man, I already saw this. But the other way around, it wouldn't have bothered me at all. And that was just a weird experience for me. But now I'm way ahead. I forced myself to get way ahead. Not forced, because at first it felt like I was forcing it until it got really good. And then it definitely didn't feel like forcing it out after that. But yeah, Bleach is great. Should definitely finish watching it when you get a chance. Or start reading it if you care about reading manga. Definitely anybody out there watching this, check out Bleach. What else we got? Chainsawman. Did you see the last episode?
No, still only seen the first.
You said you didn't see the first?
No, I said I've only seen the first.
Oh, okay. Because I could have sworn you saw it. Yeah, well, it introduces a new character, and it's mostly focused on that. So we'll talk about it more once you've seen it. I'm really enjoying it. The way they blend the 3D with the 2D is very, very seamless. I love it. It works very well for them. I love when that's I feel like people like to because CGI has come so far, it used to not be great. Um, People still have a stigma against it, but it's like, bro, it's gotten really good, and when utilized correctly, like for a long time it was either one or the other, but now it's being used. They're being used to enhance each other. 2D effects are being used to enhance CG effects in stuff like Arcane, Spider-Verse, stuff like that, and in anime, 3D effects are being used, and models are being used to enhance the 2D. So that's dope, and I'm excited to see more of that. Tales of the Jedi. This I assume you've seen.
Yeah, I forgot I watched it.
All of it?
Yeah, all 6 episodes.
Yep. So they're short episodes, no longer than like 16 minutes at the longest, but they usually hover around 15. And it focuses on Count Dooku and Ahsoka mostly. 3 episodes of Count Dooku, 3 episodes of Ahsoka. Starting with Ahsoka, then 3 Count Dooku episodes, then 2 Count Dooku episodes, I think, or 1, and then another Ahsoka episode, and then 2 Count Dooku. I forget how the order, but I just know there's like a gap in between the Ahsoka episodes. But it was very interesting to see Dooku's turn to the dark side because he truly believed in the Jedi's mission, just not the way the mission was being carried out. And on his path to do what he thought was necessary for peace, he fell to the dark side. And that was just a very interesting story to see and to learn more about Count Dooku. On the flip side, we see Ahsoka, another character who left the Jedi Order to pursue peace, except that she didn't fall to the dark side. She instead became, in a lot of ways, what the Jedi always should have been. Some people hate the term gray Jedi, but I actually think that it works very well. If we think about it as a spectrum from like the most rigid Sith, like Palpatine and his rule of 2, which I feel like a lot of people take the rule of 2 as a hard rule, but it's not. It's more of a suggestion on his part because they tend to betray each other because they're evil, and they're very selfish. But like I said, it's a spectrum, and there could easily be people who lean more towards the middle, which I think the middle is more like just a Force user of discernible affiliation who the rule of 2 might not apply to because they don't care about constantly getting power when it comes to the spectrum of Sith to the very center. And then the other opposite side, of course, is the Jedi Code with their rule of never getting attached and all that. And I would say Ahsoka exists in the gray area between a generic Force user and a Jedi, where she doesn't completely, as much as she tries, throw away her beliefs, and she still upholds a lot of the Jedi code, whether inadvertently or not. And because of that, she still, in a lot of ways, behaves as a Jedi, but adjusts the rules to suit what Jedi should truly be. So in that way, I feel like the term Great Jedi really works. Have you ever felt a certain way about the term Great Jedi?
Not really. I mean, it was never really like a canon term. It's just been there. That's just been kind of like a fan term. I haven't really felt too strongly about it one way or the other. It's just, I don't know. The term was coined before I got into Star Wars, and it has just always been there to me.
So how'd you feel about the show overall?
I thought it was pretty good. I liked all of Dooku's episodes. I felt like Ahsoka's episodes were okay, except for the first one. I really felt like the first one was kind of pointless and really boring. I was hoping that it was going to go a direction which it did not go.
Was you hoping that Plo Koon would come and like pick her up?
I really was, because I was like, there's no way that this entire episode is going to be about Ahsoka getting taken by the space saber tiger.
I agree, honestly. I feel like the Ahsoka episodes, I like the second one a lot. I think the last Ahsoka episode, which is the last episode of the season overall, was okay as well. Like, I think the second one was really good because there was a really big emotional beat to it, where it was like, again, Blind Wave. Like I said, I watched them a lot. You always hear me bring them up. But in their discussion after watching it, he mentioned how, Anakin, essentially the person who in certain ways, destroyed the Jedi, is the reason why Ahsoka, a person who left the Jedi Order, survived against the clone troopers, because the Jedi never trained against all of those blaster bolts, whereas she did. It's very interesting storytelling, and I like that episode a lot. That episode was great, but the other two, the first one, like you said, I felt like it was unnecessary. I didn't need that. I didn't need to know about Ahsoka as a baby being force sensitive. Um, and like I also hope that Plo Koon would have showed up, but he didn't. And also the last episode was I don't know, it was whatever. It wasn't bad, but it didn't interest me a lot. It was a scene pulled from the Ahsoka novel though that I've read. I think the only Star Wars novel I've ever read. So speaking of which, what Jedi stories would you like to see in like a season 2?
I just really want to see more Luke stuff. Anything Luke related would be great.
See, the thing is though, I don't want them to get there yet, because I feel like I want Luke stuff from an official like show or animated show that focuses on that era of Star Wars, where Luke, Leia, and Han are in their prime. I would prefer that be its own show rather than having them show up in an anthology series.
I mean, I don't see why there can't necessarily be both.
No, I agree with you, and I think that we can. I just think we need to get that first before they start throwing Luke in this show.
Yeah, but that's mostly just Luke stuff. I can't really think of anything like prequel eras that I would want to see.
I definitely want to see more Mace and his apprentice. I would love to see more about Mace and just learn more about him, or even see him when he was an apprentice. That would be very interesting. I would also like to see Dooku when he was apprenticed with Yoda. That would be very interesting to see as well. And Plo Koon, man, just give me more Plo Koon. I like Plo Koon. He's great.
Give me anything Kit Fisto as well.
Yeah, I was thinking Kit Fisto would be dope as well. But what's the dude name? The dude that dated Asajj Ventress? I can't remember his name.
Oh, Quinlan Vos.
Yeah, Quinlan Vos would also be pretty cool. But what was I gonna say about Plo Koon? Oh, Plo Koon is Dave Filoni's favorite Jedi, so I wouldn't be surprised if next season we get some Plo Koon.
There was an original back in like 2003-ish. It was drawn in the same style as 2003 Clone Wars, but it was like a Clone Wars comic anthology series, and there was a lot of stories in there that I was reading that I thought would be pretty cool to put in there. Like there was one, it kind of felt like it felt like an old like samurai movie, like one of the Jedi. It took place during Order 66. And like this Padawan went down to the planet where he was supposed to be like helping stop the civil war while his master was still up in the ship. When Order 66 started and he felt his master die, and then all the clones on the planet with him turned on him and he killed them and he got like the help of the village. And like it ended with like the clones coming down planet side to like kill him, and like he got the help of all the villagers to like fight back. And that was pretty cool. I want to see something kind of like that. I think that would be pretty interesting to see.
Similar to how the last episode adapted a portion of the Ahsoka novel, I think like a couple episodes focusing on Quinlan Vos that adapts the Asajj Ventress novel, but focuses on Quinlan's side of things, would actually be pretty interesting. I would prefer that whole comic just be adapted into its own like animated movie, or kind of like special or something like that, like an hour special. But if they did it that way, I also wouldn't be mad. I might have to check out that novel sometime soon. But yeah, moving on to comics. You been reading anything interesting lately? Comic-wise?
Not at all.
Well, I finished my reread of Chainsaw Man Part 1, and it hits harder than on a second read. That last couple, those last like 10 chapters or whatever, amazing. Really good. I can't wait for the anime to get there. It'll probably be in a couple of seasons. Maybe next season they'll get to that part, or maybe the third one. We'll see. But again, reading Bleach. So I finished the Fullbringer arc, and the ending was really good. So the first like 2/3 of the Fullbringer arc for me is kind of boring, but in the latter third, you get a lot of backstory for the Fullbringers, and I think that stuff should have been given much earlier. It helps give these characters that were introduced pretty quickly, and leave the story just as fast, some actual character, and make you actually care about them. and I wish we got to know them better overall. Like I said before, I think that it being a mirror of the first arc, where you get a little bit more slice of life and character focused chapters, would have went a long way for this arc. Overall, it's my least favorite arc in the entirety of the story. And honestly, Thousand Year Blood War arc is starting to feel like it might be my favorite arc, because I'm realizing that it takes all of the stuff that Taikubo learned over his, working on the series, and it kind of just culminates into this really good story that I'm afraid to get to the end of it, because I know the end of it kind of falls apart because it got rushed. But man, the build up is good. Die. So I finally finished it, and it was a very emotional experience. Just to reiterate, Die is about the writer, Kieran Gillen, describes it as goth Jumanji, and that is very accurate. It's a dark fantasy comic about a group of middle-aged adults returning to a live-action roleplay game that they were sucked into as teenagers. It's as much a subversion of the fantasy genre and role-playing games as much as it is a celebration of both of those things. It delves into some heavy topics, explores the trauma these people went through the first time they were transported to the world of Die, and the new horrors that await them. Despite my use of the word, it is not a horror comic. It's a dark fantasy, but some horror elements. Kieran Gillen is a great writer, and paired with Stephanie Hahn's beautiful artwork, it'll be an experience I'll never forget. It was a really good book. Like, the art is painterly all throughout. It's very pretty without being overwhelming, which I feel like sometimes that type of artwork can be overwhelming. Here it wasn't. And the use of colors, wow, it's great. Dual Powerbomb. Once again, Dual Powerbomb is a comic about pro wrestling, where a tag team duo joins a universe-wide wrestling tournament ran by a necromancer. In issue 4, there's more high-flying madness, and a shocking new competitor is revealed that further fuels Lana and Cobra Sun's drive to win the prize. You want to hear more about what that's about, you can watch previous episodes. She-Hulk, I've began reading the infamous John Byrne's She-Hulk run, and it's pretty damn good so far. I've only read a preview, and I'm considering whether I'm just going to subscribe to the Marvel app or buy the comic on Comixology. We'll see. But the art by Bob Wycak is beautiful, and it makes She-Hulk even more so. So, yeah. I finished Animal Man. So, man, that third volume is wild. It's crazy. It's a lot of fourth wall breaking. And it further delves into what will become the origin of the Red in the DC universe, which is like the connection to all the animals in the world and why all the animal themed characters, have their powers. But Animal Man becomes aware that he's in a comic, and what follows after that discovery is far too much to explain. I was gonna go into a spoiler-filled analysis about the use of Overman as a representation of a realistic Superman, and adult media often equaling dark and violent, but it's too much. We might have to have a deeper discussion about it in the future. Actually, one of my guests that I was planning to have on that kind of didn't happen yet has read it as well, so I might wait for that episode for us. And you've read it too, so for all three of us to have a real in-depth discussion that'll span the entirety of the comic book section about section about Animal Man. That would be fun. But to wrap it up with this last one, The Flash. So coincidentally, this issue is remarkably similar to Dual Powerbomb. Flash finds himself in the middle of a galaxy-wide pro wrestling tournament, where pro wrestling is real, of course, and it's taking place in the middle of Keystone City. And some of the wrestlers are some deep-cut DC characters that I did not know until I was on Twitter and someone was like, talking about them, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, that's all I have for comics. Moving on to TV and film. The HBO Green Lantern series is being redeveloped. The series will now focus on Jon Stewart. It was originally set to focus on various Lanterns, including Alan Scott and Guy Gardner. At Comic Joe Ashton on Twitter said, described the way I feel about it perfectly. They said, it's like someone stole my pie, but gave me a pizza. Like, I kind of wanted that pie, but I'm going to enjoy the pizza just as much. Very conflicted. And I think that John should have been in a buddy cop film with Hal, while the show focused on the other Earth Lanterns like Jon Stewart, Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner, Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz, Joe Millian. There are too many Earth Lanterns, in my personal opinion. But Yeah, how do you feel about this decision? Honestly, like I said, either way, I'm happy, but I wish he would have been in a movie and they were the focus of the show. But yeah, go ahead.
I probably was not going to watch the show until now that Jon Stewart is. That also reminds me, I saw the new animated Green Lantern movie, which was interesting. But yeah, I probably wasn't gonna watch the show, but now I might because I don't really like Alan Scott that much, and I actually quite hate Guy Gardner. I don't think I can say I hate too many comic book characters, but I genuinely hate Guy Gardner. I was not going to watch that show.
Wow. You hate him so much you wouldn't have watched the show?
Yes, blatantly. Anytime that Guy Gardner is in like a comic or a TV show, I almost like put it down.
Why?
Like I genuinely have to debate with myself whether I'm going to put it down.
Why?
I read all of Justice League International, and the best part of that was Guy Gardner getting punched in the face by Batman.
That doesn't explain why.
He is alright. Am I allowed to cuss in this part of the podcast?
Maybe. Go for it.
Okay, he's an asshole. Like,
okay,
he has no redeeming quality. He doesn't have a single good redeeming quality about him. He's just an asshole.
That's not true.
Give me one redeeming quality about Guy Gardner. Any of them.
He's a look. I'll have to think harder on it. But he definitely does. He definitely does. Okay, he's written to be a lovable asshole. Okay, he's not that bad. And also, come on. He's not that bad. But anyway,
he's that bad.
The Batman spinoffs. So Matt Reeves is meeting with writers and directors for the Batman spin-off movies and TV shows focusing on Batman's rogues gallery. Various projects from Scarecrow to Clayface to Professor Pig are in very early stages of development. This sounds dope. I think we might have talked about something like this before. I know we talked about the GCPD show that they were working on. Which, do you know where that show? What's gone on with that? The GCPD thing?
It turned into the Arkham Asylum show.
That's weird. How does that work? How did that happen? But
I don't know. They said that they were working on it. They just kind of refocused it into Arkham Asylum.
I would prefer. I mean, I'm not mad at that, but I would prefer a GCPD show, honestly.
I would too. I just want to see more Jim Gordon.
Yeah. It would also be dope if they introduced Renee Montoya. But yeah. I just want to see Clayface in live action, and I want to see a proper Clayface. Like, even if it's only his face that can be shapeshifted, I'm fine with that. Like, I want to see Clayface really bad, but obviously I want the actual like full body Clayface. I have my choice. Apparently a lot of people, in terms of mantle holding, have been Clayface in the comics. I wasn't aware of that. There's been a lot of them. The original, of course, didn't have powers. He was just an actor who played a monster in a movie, and then the movie was getting remade, and he was recast as the monster. So he went around killing every single one of the cast in the way that their characters died in the film, saving the person replacing the character he plays for last. Very interesting stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if they just like one for one adapt that for a Clayface story in a Batman movie, and I wouldn't be too mad at that because it's actually a pretty good story. And you can also have him, disguising himself as people. It could be very trippy if they do it right. But Man The Wasp Quantumania, coming out February 17th, 2023. There was a trailer. Assume you've seen it.
Yep.
And King looks incredibly comic accurate. It's actually kind of insane. They did the blue thing instead of it being, I don't know if King's skin is actually blue or not in the comics, but it's kind of like a visor or kind of like, something like that over top of his face when he puts the helmet on. So it makes his face look blue, which I think is a good way to do that. But all I could think about while watching this trailer, and tell me if you felt the same way, but it felt like a Fantastic Four story, and now I kind of wish that it was.
I do not read too many Fantastic Four comics. I really wouldn't be able to say. I don't read many Ant-Man comics or Fantastic Four comics, so.
I don't either, but from the little I've seen, it just felt so much like a Fantastic Four story, not just because of Kang, but because of everything else. I was like, man, this feels like Fantastic Four. It would have been cool if it was. But I'm interested in this movie mostly for Kang. I honestly don't. I don't care too much about most of the Ant-Man characters because honestly, I think I would care more if the main Ant-Man was Why am I blinking on his name? Well, what's his name? The first Ant-Man,
Hank Pym.
Hank Pym. Like the current Ant-Man, Scott Lang, just doesn't interest me as much as it would have if it was Hank Pym. He just doesn't. I kind of wish it was Hank as the main Ant-Man in the MCU. Um, I don't know why they didn't do that. I think they did it because they wanted to go a more comedic route, but they could have still been funny with the scientist guy. How you feeling about this movie?
I don't really. It took me 3 years to watch the first Ant-Man movie, and I just watched Ant-Man and the Wasp last year for the first time.
How'd you like it?
If that's any indication about how I feel about Ant-Man.
How'd you like it?
I like the first one, like ish. The second one was just kind of
Yeah, and because of that, I don't know, man. It's just I don't know what about these films that are just like they're okay, and this is where they're introducing Kang. Really? Here? This is the place? This is the place they decided to introduce. Granted, technically they introduced King and Loki, but this is what they decided to introduce King proper. Like the main version of King the Conqueror that we're probably going to be seeing in, the film, the Avengers films, I felt like that was just a weird choice. It makes sense storyline wise, but I don't know. I just don't really like those characters a lot, honestly. Um, the holiday special Guardians of the Galaxy had a trailer. And they're going to kidnap Kevin Bacon to make Star Lord feel better. And it's another special presentation like Werewolf by Night was. And it looks like it'll be fun. You gonna watch it?
probably. I mean, I like the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and I like the concept of the Guardians.
You don't
So
like the second one?
I'll probably watch it. I mean, I'm always into Christmas stuff.
You don't like the second one?
No, I really didn't like the second one.
Wow, that's crazy. I like the second one leaps and bounds more than the first one. The first one's great, don't get me wrong. It's fantastic. But I like the second one so much more. I love the second Guardians of the Galaxy film. What didn't you like about the second movie?
It just felt really small in comparison to the first one to me.
What?
I love a lot of the world building done in the first one, and the second one takes place majority like on Ego.
Oh, okay.
There wasn't a lot of world building, although I did like the beginning when they were on that ice planet and like you saw the old Ravagers. That was pretty cool. I just wanted more of that. That didn't. I'd also the first one gave off more of a clunky like space pirate adventure type of thing. The second one didn't.
Okay, that's fair.
It just wasn't my cup of tea.
That's fair. I like the more the more kind of character focused story in the second one a lot. So yeah. Speaking of Guardians, James Gunn is the Kevin Feige of DC now. So James Gunn and producer Kevin Safran have been tapped to lead DC's film, TV, and animation efforts as co-chairs and co-CEOs of DC Studios, a new division that will replace DC Films. James Gunn will focus on the creative side of DC, while Peter Safran will focus on the business and production side of things. Both are expected to continue to direct and produce projects, respectively. And the two have signed a 4-year deal for this opportunity. Check out the Hollywood Reporter's article if you want to learn more about the details. This is where I got a lot of this information from. But some people are concerned that Gunn isn't the man for the job because of the type of movies he makes, which tends to be more comedic, and they don't want the DCU to fall into that mold. But out to that I say, he won't be directing every movie. Like that's not how this works. He's not. This doesn't mean he's going to be directing every single movie. But also, he's not doing this alone. It's James Gunn and Peter Safran, and both of them themselves said that they will collaborate with the most talented writers, directors, and actors to create an integrated, multi-layered universe that allows for individual expression of the artist involved. That's a quote. James was also tapped to direct a Superman film, but turned it down because he knew it didn't fit his style. So I think that speaks for itself in the sense that he's not going to make the entire DCEU like his films. And he's trying to make it more unique, in fact, by having directors kind of make unique films, unlike the MCU, which has become a factory. So how you feel about this, man?
I'm pretty excited about it. I've liked almost everything I've seen of James Gunn, so I feel like he'd do a pretty good job. I don't know too much about the other guy, but
Yeah, so I feel like my dream of an Animal Man show has just come so much closer to becoming a reality. And I want James Gunn to direct it. But if failing him, someone who he chooses, that's really good. I think because he's really good about having, letting lesser known characters get to shine, and Animal Man would be great. People would love Animal Man. It would be fantastic. But sticking on that DC train, I saw Black Adam. So have you seen it?
I have not had the money or the time, and it also just came out a couple days ago.
Okay. Did it? It came out like a week ago. What's up?
Did it?
Yeah. But yeah. Do you care about spoilers?
I mean, I already know all the spoilers.
He was actually wasn't even planning on spoiling it. I was just gonna spoil the end credit scene. Do you care about that? You probably already saw it.
I've already seen that.
Not only did you already see it, I sent it to you. So I don't know why I'm asking.
Did you send it to me?
I did send it to you. I sent you
I did not send it to me. I saw it on YouTube.
Yeah, I sent it to you in a post that the actor who shows up, he was talking about it. But it was fun. It was a lot of people liken it to the average MCU film, and people are using that as negative criticism. And that comparison is very apt, but because of that, it's a good film because it's just being a good action comedy film. It's wall-to-wall action, so you definitely don't have to worry about being bored at any point. And it's almost just as much a Justice Society movie as it is a Black Adam movie, and I think that's dope. And I hope that this leads to an actual Justice Society movie, because the Justice Society in this was, very interesting and fun. And Hawkman and his rapport with Black Adam was pretty fun. They just kept fighting each other because Hawkman didn't like him, and the fact that he was going around killing people. I would like to say, and I want to hear your opinion on this. I hate Black Adam with a cape.
I heavily disagree.
I hate Black Adam with a cape. I think Shazam should have a cape. I don't think Black Adam should have a cape. And if he does, it should have a hood. At some point, he has a cape without a hood, and I get angry. I go, one, rip that cape off his back. Secondly, if he's going to have a cape, at least give it a hood.
I can agree that I prefer him with a hooded cape, but I heavily disagree.
I hate Black Adam with a cape so much. I just don't like it. I prefer him without it. But yeah, it was a good movie. Honestly, it was really fun. It's better than a lot of DCU films. So, low bar, but good fun movie. But spoiler alert for the end credit scenes of this movie. But Henry Cavill is back as Superman, and I sent you a IG post that he posted where he showed the clip, and then he also talked about how he's fully back. He's not just here for a cameo.
Are you talking about that? I've seen that like 9 times.
Yeah, he's big back. He's back and he's here to stay. And speaking of which, The Witcher. So The Witcher is returning for season 4, but Henry Cavill will be handing his swords to Liam Hemsworth as the new Geralt of Rivia after season 3. So he will be Geralt in season 3, but he will not be Geralt after that anymore. So a lot of people are assuming that he'll be leaving the show due to his return, as Superman. But some also say that it may have been creative differences with the writers. So according to rumors, some of the writers actively dislike the books and games and are trying to distance themselves from it and constantly make fun of it. Whereas Henry, as you know, is a huge fan of the books and the games, and he wants the show to be as accurate to the book as possible. And people are saying that he might have left because the writers just don't care about the source material, and he joined this project because he was a big fan of the source material. So yeah, how do you feel about that?
You know how I feel about that. I do not like that at all.
Yeah, like
So I do think that it has less to do with the source material. I'm like 99% sure of that. Because he did straight up say multiple times that no matter what they did to it, he was like committed to 7 seasons of The Witcher. The problem is now he is back to Superman.
I think it's both.
I don't know, it could be both.
Because I think that you're right. I think that he probably was gonna stay. I think that he didn't like the changes they were making, but he was still committed to staying. But as soon as he got the invitation to come back as Superman, he was like, you know what? I'm leaving.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, I would have preferred Tyler, whatever his name is, as Superman for the DCEU if that meant that we got to keep Henry Cavill's The Witcher.
Yeah, I agree. I would have.
I prefer The Witcher to like the DCEU, especially during this state, regardless. So
yeah, I agree. I would have preferred he stayed as Geralt and someone else took up the Superman mantle, but can't be mad. Can't be stuttering. Can't say I'm too mad at him coming back as Superman and staying. That'll be fun because he definitely. His Superman deserves so much.
I'm happy he's back as Superman. This is not the price I wanted to pay for it.
Yeah. So, House of Dragons, House of the Dragon. I keep saying House of Dragons. House of the Dragon, season finale. You said you saw it. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
So a war was started by the dragons themselves, in a sense. Granted, it's still Aemon's fault for going to go terrorize that little kid in the first place, but technically the war was started by the dragons themselves, which is, obviously some obvious symbolism. But yeah, the show was good. It was so short. I went back to check how long the seasons for the Game of Thrones was, and they were just as short. And I was like, it makes sense, but still, I want more. And we're probably not going to get another season for another 2 years. But as long as it's good, put in that work, I'm excited. But honestly, I missed the original actor for Rhaenyra, because Millie Alcock was really good. I really liked her as Rhaenyra. I might have a little bit of a crush on her. Don't worry about that. It doesn't matter. We're talking about House of Dragons. How did you like the show?
I thought it was pretty good. Yeah. That's about it.
That's about it too.
It was really good. I am very excited to see what happens in season 2. I need season 2 to come out today instead of like a couple years from now. But yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. So Andor. So something I love about Andor is that sometimes you forget it's a Star Wars show until you see stormtroopers or a Star Destroyer for the first time in 6 episodes. How different and grounded this show is makes those moments where like uniquely Star Wars things show up more impactful for me. And like every character in this show is like fully fleshed out, on par with like Full Metal Alchemist. Like every character matters, and we see the conflict from like every angle possible. I love seeing Star Wars from the perspective of the people with their boots on the ground. It's really fun, and they also do a great job of making everything feel real, despite it taking place in a sci-fi world. And have you caught up with Andor?
I'm not caught up. I have not seen the newest episode.
The newest episode's really good. It's probably my favorite episode so far, honestly. Other than you saw the episode where they do the plan, right?
Yeah, I'm up to. He's in jail now.
Okay, dope. So, yeah, because I don't think we got a chance to talk about that last time. How do you like the episode where they showed off, where they actually went through with the plan?
It was good. I don't know why I was expecting not everybody to die, but I was expecting not everybody to die, and as it would turn out,
yeah, pretty much everybody died except for like 3 people. But yeah, it's a real good show. We'll talk about the next episode next time. So moving on to video games. Talking about The Witcher again. The Witcher 1 is getting a remake, and that's one of the games that they were mentioning. In the 5 games that they're making. Is being remade in Unreal Engine 5. And I'm curious to see what they're doing with that. I wonder if it'll be essentially like the first Witcher game in the lens of the third Witcher game, or if they're trying something completely different and new. Um, I'll see. We'll see. Because I don't know. Maybe I'll be interested in playing it, and maybe I'll start playing Witcher games from the beginning. So Final Fantasy 16 Ambition trailer. The lore of Final Fantasy 16 is really fun, and a lot of people were upset because it's a very fantasy focused Final Fantasy, but like it's called Final Fantasy. Like what are people expecting? Like people are used to because Final Fantasy 7 is so popular, they keep making spin-offs. People want every Final Fantasy game to be like Final Fantasy 7, where it's like this industrial steampunk-ish kind of like environmental story type thing, which is like Final Fantasy 7 is great, but like it's always been an anthology series of games where every game is completely different from the last. So yeah, it looks interesting. Like the story is that like there's a bunch of different warring countries where the Earth is essentially slowly being destroyed, and by some type of rot, but they have these giant like crystal spires that essentially make the ether like the in the video games, in terms of like gameplays, like the magic system or whatever. But in the story, it's also magic, but it helps keep things protected from like the rot that's creeping in. And of course, it's similar to something like Game of Thrones, where they always go to war for that type of stuff. And the summons, I think that's what they're called. Instead of being something that you unlock throughout the process of the game, there there are people in each kingdom who can transform into a summon, and they're called icons, and it's really cool. You should check out this trailer. I think I might have sent it to you a while back, but Final Fantasy 16 Ambition trailer really dives deep into it. I feel like it might interest you, honestly. I feel like this story is something you would be interested in, so you should definitely check it out. Speaking of something you're interested in, Forspoken. Did you check out that video I sent you?
Yeah, you sending me stuff that I see on my Instagram timeline like an hour before.
Yeah, but I don't think that video showed the whole thing though. The one on Instagram, but yeah, there's a video and a PlayStation blog article that talks about the traversal in Forspoken, and the traversal in Forspoken essentially is it's the an own. I'm studying a lot in these last few episodes. I don't know what's going on with me. They're essentially how do I put it? I would say a mechanic of its own, like a complicated mechanic that affects gameplay and that you can get good at. It's a situation where it's a low skill floor, high skill ceiling where you can get really good at and string a lot of different things together to traverse very effortlessly and have it all flow into each other very well. Or you could just do the basic stuff that you need to do to get around. But it's very intricate, and when I look at it, I've said it before, but it reminds me of what a Flash game could be, because a Flash game would naturally be built on the traversal because his power is super speed. So naturally, you're going to want to build on that and have the traversal be a gameplay mechanic of its own that is easy to get into, so that you already have that experience of being a Flash immediately off top. But you have the options of getting better at it. It can get more complicated. You can learn new things, and that's what this Forspoken traversal feels like. What do you think about it?
Yeah. No. I don't know. The traversal itself doesn't excite me as much as I think it does you, but I do really like the way that the magic looks in this game and the way that you can combine it with traversal. There's this one scene, I don't remember if it's from the traversal trailer or if it's from like a previous trailer, but there's this one thing with, oh, I forget what her name is. What's the main character's name?
Frey.
Frey. I thought it was Frey, but for some reason my head was telling me that it started with an A, and I didn't know why. Where Frey is like jumping above like a group of enemies, and then she drops down and like drops like a bolt of lightning from the sky, and like shoots like everybody around her with green lightning. It's really cool visually,
Yeah, the
but
effects look great.
I can't. I I really want to see like a Doctor Strange game, and like, his style of like combat and magic would be great in something like that.
That's true. I definitely agree there. But this is going into a little bit more detail. The basic traversal is called flow, and it's essentially just like holding a button and running. And then you have a dash that you can do that helps replenish your stamina, called rush. And then there's another traversal thing that you can do that essentially lets you leap far distances without using stamina, because there is a stamina system with this traversal. There's an ability called scale where you essentially like, it's similar to like um that thing that Red Hood does in Arkham, not Arkham, but it's called Gotham Knights, where he like jumps on the air. And of course, there's like a kind of like scaling system that allows you to go straight up vertical things. And there's like a zip, kind of like how the web zip in Spider-Man PlayStation games. And then of course you have like a glide ability called float, except that she puts water below her legs and kind of glides down. And I think last but not least, there's ability straight up called glide, but it's like a surfboard over water so that you can traverse water and fight enemies that are underwater or on water. But yeah, it just looks really good. This is the type of stuff that makes me excited for this game, because I mostly didn't care about this game. It looked like it would be whatever. And then they showed that gameplay trailer that you were just talking about. And I was like, oh, wait, this game looks cool. It comes out in January 24th. That's kind of soon. Have you pre-ordered this game? Because you like pre-ordering stuff.
I don't even have a PlayStation 5. I'm not going to pre-order the game first.
Is this exclusive to PlayStation 5? Oh, it is.
What?
Oh, it is exclusive to PlayStation 5. I didn't know that. Man, it sucks to suck.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But apparently Silent Hill 2 is getting a remake. There was a trailer at a recent Silent Hill event. And do you have any experience with Silent Hill? Any interest in Silent Hill?
I've played all the Silent Hill games except for the one. I think there was one on DS that I didn't play.
You play a lot of these survival horror games. Do you play Resident Evil?
No. Last Resident Evil I played was Resident Evil 7. I played Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 7. That's about it. And I think I played whichever one, like they had a version 4 on the Wii. I think that might have been 4 actually. And I played a little bit of that, but I wasn't really a fan.
Did you like 2 Remake?
I did like 2 Remake. I really hope they remake all the games, and that every single game, including 7, is going to be part of like the remake timeline. I would love to see what 7.
They're not going to they're not going to remake 7 yet. If
not
anything,
yet. But like give it like 10 years.
Yeah, but what is it? They gave Resident Evil 8 Village of a third person mode, so if anything, they might just give it a third person mode. But also, they remastered it for PS5, Resident Evil 7. So it's not, maybe give it 10 years, you're right, but they're not doing that anytime soon. But they've remade Resident Evil 1 twice, and that's why they didn't start remaking with Resident Evil 1, but I want them to remake it again in like Resident Evil 2 style. But I agree with you. I think eventually they should remake all of them, including kind of like the spin-off games. Like Code Veronica is a game that there's rumors that it was originally was meant to be the third game that I think were debunked in it, that it just isn't true. But it essentially is, the story of Resident Evil 2 is that Claire's looking for her brother, but he's off in England somewhere. Resident Evil Code Veronica is where she finally sees her brother again, Chris. And in that game, you play as both. You play as 3 characters, but you play as Claire and Chris mainly. And that getting a remake would be dope. But mostly 4 is getting a remake. I want them to remake 1 again so I can play 1 for the first time. Because I just don't want to play the old version, honestly. And I want them to remake 5 and 6. 6 especially, because 6 goes way off the rails and becomes a straight action game. And some people like that, but as a Resident Evil game, I'm not looking for straight action. 5 is a lot of action as well, but it still feels like a Resident Evil game. Like it feels not too far off from what 4 was. So I really do want to see them remake 5. But yeah. Sticking on that train, Resident Evil 4, they had an event, a Resident Evil event in general, where they showed off, the third person Resident Evil 8 and the DLC for Resident Evil 8 that doesn't interest me in the slightest. And then they showed a lot of Resident Evil 4. They showed a lot of an extended gameplay trailer, and they showed another story trailer, and it looks good. There's some slight stealth where they showed, and it has been said because there have been some previews where people actually got some hands-on time with it, where you can like stealth kill people. There's even a bow, like a crossbow stealth weapon. So there's gonna be a bit of stealth in Resident Evil 4. There's a parry with a knife, so your knife can be, you can parry stuff with your knife, including the chainsaw Ganado, which is interesting. And a lot of people were afraid that they would remove a lot of the kind of more goofy stuff because they were trying to make it super serious. But a lot of people were happy that that is not the case. He still has his roundhouse kick. We don't know if he has his suplex yet, but he probably will. And he also still quips and makes jokes and stuff like that. And it's been confirmed that when everybody runs away at the beginning of that village section, and he says, "Where's everyone going? Bingo." That line is still in the game. So all the stuff that people were afraid they would remove isn't happening. But this type of stuff that they're adding is so the Last of Us, in terms of how you switch between weapons, is the D-pad, and you click left or right a couple times to cycle through the weapons, and they're incorporating that type of system into this game when it comes to switching weapons. And that's a good weapon system. I like that type of weapons menu. Metal Gear Solid 5 did the same thing, where they changed the weapon menu to be like on the D-pad. So yeah, that's always a good way to go to make it more sleek and easier to navigate and faster to navigate on the fly. But with like Callisto Protocol coming out in December, and then a month after that in January, Dead Space Remake coming out, and then 2 months after that in March, Resident Evil 4, and then a Silent Hill remake and Alan Wake 2 coming out. God knows when. Survival horror fans are eating good. We're eating good. But yeah, you should definitely finish Resident Evil 2 remake when you get the chance. But yeah, moving on. Bayonetta 3. Have you heard about this controversy with the voice actress?
No, I don't like much of Bayonetta. I'm not.
Well,
I forgot Bayonetta was even coming out.
Bayonetta's, it's out, by the way, and it sounds like it's pretty good. But anyway, I'll get to that. Bayonetta's original voice actor, Helena Taylor, says she was offered $4K to voice the character in Bayonetta 3, which she turned down. In response, Platinum hired Jennifer Hale to voice Bayonetta instead. She then asked fans to boycott the game, which was scheduled to release later the month that this all originally started. And Hideki Kamiya, the senior vice president of Platinum Games, aka the second in command at the company, said, "Sad and deplorable about the attitude of untruth." And he has been blocking anyone who questions why Platinum Games would treat voice actors this way. And that month people were all on her side, and she's not wrong. Voice actors are severely underpaid. But it came out that she lied. She was originally offered $10K, and she asked for more, and she was offered more. She was offered $5K more, and she still declined. She felt like she wanted more, which is I feel like still fair. And then the final $4K offer actually came from, they offered, since she didn't want to be in the game full time, they as the main character, they offered her a cameo, because the game, there's some multiversal stuff in the game, so she could have voiced another version of Bayonetta. But she turned that down as well. So game journalist Young Ye described the situation better than I ever could. He says, "I'm all for voice actors fighting to raise wage standards, but misrepresenting information only muddles the discourse. And voice actors are underpaid and disrespected in the industry, like Young Ye said." In another tweet, actors are allowed to strive for more than minimum financial success, especially if a character contributed to a company earning hundreds, of millions. Acting is not a long-term gig. It's not a 9 to 5. You're constantly applying for new jobs, and major league roles for far and few in between. And therefore the price tag that someone, some people are saying is too much. Is money that's meant to last months in between, or sometimes years, where actors aren't earning money because they don't have any roles at the moment. So her asking for a bigger price tag isn't, wrong. She's got to survive. She's probably got a family, maybe. I don't know. I'm assuming on that part. But the conversation about fair pay Helena started was an important one. But lying about it, as much as she did, kind of just open up the movement to it compromised the movement and opened it up to unnecessary criticism that it just didn't need. And people are always going to bring this up now. And people are attempting to obviously kind of like make sure that doesn't happen. But also her call to boycott Bayonetta 3 in order to take down the game and everyone who worked on it was completely uncalled for because there are so many people working on that game that just has nothing to do with what she's fighting against and is just hurting them would not solve anything. It would just hurt innocent people. But speaking about the game itself, it looks amazing. Like I've said before, I'm waiting for the next Nintendo console to release so I can play these games at their best, or what their best will become whenever that happens. So I won't be playing Bayonetta 3 for a while. However, the reviews describe it as something I'll love when I get there. Something that Bayonetta's predecessor, Devil May Cry, lacks that Bayonetta provides in spades is a mix-up to the gameplay. So Devil May Cry tends to just be shuffling from room to room fighting enemies, but Bayonetta has big playable set pieces similar to its contemporary God of War, mini game levels where you play as other characters, and one of which is like you play as her, essentially her kind of Virgil type character in a side-scrolling stealth segment, and semi-open world areas for you to do some light exploration. These are things that a modern hack and slash I feel like need in order to not need, but I would like for them to have personally in order to thrive. I feel like it's why God of War and Bayonetta are so popular because they have those things to break up just to hacking and slashing. And DMC5 did well, but it was also a return to form after a reboot no one asked for, and an 11-year absence of a true sequel. So naturally, they would just come back and do the same old stuff we love. But I do hope that they learn to switch it up like Bayonetta and God of War does. At the very least, they should have some big set pieces that would be fun to play through. But yeah, anything you have to say before we move on to the final thing that you will probably have a lot to say about?
Nope.
Dope. Gotham Knights. Do you have it? Have you played it?
I have nothing to play it on, so no.
Oh, is that also exclusive?
PS5, Xbox Series S and X.
Really? That's weird. That's strange. As you know what? I think I heard about it. People saying like it's only 30 frames per second, but it's exclusive to PS5. Why? You know what? That's a good question. Why? So the game is out. Reviews are in, and they're hovering around like the 7 out of 10 range, which isn't bad at all. To me, that's if you're interested in the game, it's worth trying out and forming your own opinion type of score. But after watching several reviews myself, the game is I'll buy it from GameStop at a significant discount category, so that I still have an option of returning it. Because these are all my personal opinions. You can give yours because I'm sure you've seen gameplay and reviews. But the combat from my perspective and what the reviews are saying and the reason why I'm not buying it outright is the combat is seemingly a slog, not just because it's slower than people are used to from Arkham games, but because it's extremely repetitive. The side quests are said to be highly repetitive for padding. The map is said to be too large and not fun to traverse. Speaking of traversal, to unlock each character's traversal ability, you have to complete 10 knighthood missions, and to unlock knighthood missions, you need to do other small missions. And people say that took them like 5 hours to unlock the traversal, which is wild. Why wouldn't you start with that? And the RPG loot and gear mechanics are said to be confusing to navigate within the menus. And everything being said about this game is just that it's packed chock full of content that feels like it's just there for the sake of padding out the game. I do hear, however, that the game is far more fun in co-op and that the characters are written very well. So, in my opinion, there was no need to make a new Batman game series. This is my opinion. I feel like this game should have had the same premise of Batman dying and these 4 characters taking up the mantle in Gotham. But it should have picked up where Arkham Knight left off and had similar gameplay that took a lot of the stuff that's in this game that evolved that gameplay and put it in a new game. But, far more boss fights and way less vehicle combat. That's my personal opinion, though. How do you feel about this game from what you've seen, but having not had the chance to play it yet?
From what I've seen, I'm loving what I'm looking at.
I thought you would.
I didn't hear any of that.
No, I was just saying I thought you would, because this doesn't seem like it's my type of game, but it seems like it's yours 100%.
Yeah, no, it seems like it's right up my alley. That said, I still have not played any of it.
Yeah, so what do you think about what you've seen, though?
What I've seen was great.
Can you be a little more specific?
I can't really think of any complaints that I have about gameplay, about traversal, about anything like that. I didn't plan to use any of the knight's traversal skills in the first place, so having them locked behind something isn't really an issue for me, except for Batgirls. I would have liked to use the glide, but that's about it. I wasn't planning on using the flying trapeze. I was planning on jumping on air. I wasn't planning on really teleporting. Maybe outside of like combat every once in a while. But yeah, no, I don't know, not really. I don't really have any issue with the gameplay there. I feel like a lot of complaints though do come from people wanting this to be an Arkham game, or like thinking that it was going to be an Arkham game, and a lot of, at least personally, a lot of the criticism that I have seen has come from direct comparisons to Arkham, which some are fair, some are, I feel, less fair than others.
I agree.
But yeah, I don't know.
But here's the thing, tell me how you feel about this. But I feel like a lot of people say it's unfair to compare to Arkham. I disagree to the fullest extent. If you're gonna make a Batman, here's just the simple fact of the matter. If you're going to make a new, brand spanking new timeline, universe, different mechanics Batman game, you're always going to be compared to the previous Batman games, which, Arkham Knight and Origins a bit more, people don't fully agree on how good they are. I think they're both good games. I do think they're flawed, but I think they're both still really good games and really fun to play. But the first two are considered like masterpieces. You're always going to be compared to those games. And I don't think it's unfair because I feel like the example's there for you to go, here's what people like about Batman games. I can do something different, but I have to be aware that I know what people like, and I have to try to cater to that a little bit. And they tried. And I think that ultimately it's just, I feel like there's probably a level of interference from higher ups that may have affected this game, because I feel like there may be some things in this game that should have been there that aren't there. And yeah, I personally feel like I feel like we should have just gotten another Arkham game instead of this. I don't think we needed a reboot. Like, I don't think we need, not a reboot. I don't think we needed a new Batman game series. I just don't think we did. I feel like that they should have just made another Arkham game, if I'm being honest. Especially if they came up with this premise. I feel like maybe this wasn't the original premise, because this premise is too similar to like, it matches up too much with the ending of Arkham Knight for it to be like, not have originally been either a sequel to Arkham Knight, or it wasn't, and it was forced upon this game to be similar to Arkham Knight, the ending of Arkham Knight, for whatever reason. I don't know. It's just, everything about this game is a gigantic, weird decision, in my opinion. I think this is a game that really didn't need to exist in the way that it does. But that's just my personal opinion about it. I just want another Arkham game, if I'm being honest. I want other superhero games, but whenever I get a Batman game, I want an Arkham game. But that's just me. I don't mind there being different Batman games. I just think that if you're going to make a different Batman game, make a different Batman game. Don't even try to ride the coattails of Arkham series, because you're not going to match up. And I feel like they came too close, and they got too close to the sun. Their wings burned up. But that's all I have. You have anything else to say?
Not really.
So, yeah, that's all we got. I'm Dijon. You can find my ads below me. There's Amir. You can find his ad below him, and the Muskets ad below that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.